B.
Man, we have a problem, Mouse.
What problem? What do you
Mr. McMahon, we have a problem.
What?
They're in the parking lot.
You stay here! You stay here with Stephanie! You take me to him! Take me to the son of a bitch! Take me to him! Come on out, you rapist!
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
What's up, boss? How you doing?
Yeah. What's good in the hood?
Just holding it down, trying to take care of business.
Keep it up. I'm a nigga. Women. Huh?
Oh, she's the one, Cole.
Blessed be the name of Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, my artists? We have another unfortunate Austintheartist review on our hands. Because, of course,
got no chance. No chance in hell.
Yeah. I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it that we have to do this. This is gonna be like, I feel like this is gonna be as depressing as the fucking, what was the other one that we... Quiet on Set. Fucking hell.
Jesus.
I try to repress things, man.
Yeah, because they have released on Netflix a new documentary series about none other than the former chairman of the board of WWE, Mr. Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 6 episodes long for some fucking reason. And apparently a lot of it is fucked. So...
and they're all fucking like 50 minutes to an hour.
Yep. So get your popcorn and your drinks and everything else. So if you gotta get your P. Diddy baby oil to get oiled up. Because this is gonna be a long video.
We're recording this in parts, so...
We're doing the first 3 episodes in this recording, and then once we get to episode 4, that's gonna be our second session.
Yeah,
Because Quiet on Set was one thing because it was 4 episodes. This is fucking 6. So it's a good thing it's like
Quiet on Set was 5.
Night.
But
I thought you said it was 6.
remember it had that, like, no, I said Quiet on Set was 5.
Oh yeah, I forgot they released another episode like a week after we fucking did it, so we had to fucking do that.
Yeah, they released it the night of WrestleMania, and we were just like, no. Like, we're waiting a week.
So, if you don't know, the reason they made this documentary about Vince is because of the allegations that came out at the beginning of this year in like January, I think it was either January or February, of the Janelle Grant lawsuit about all the allegations against Vince for all the horrible things he's done over the years. And so Netflix decided, let's make a documentary series about it after Vince stepped down from WWE. He's no longer a part of it anymore. And
Which, by the way, might I say, Netflix, I've been trying to get away from you, motherfucker. You just keep coming, dude. Whether it's fucking that 90s show or this fuck shit. And now apparently you're gonna make a P. Diddy documentary, and we're gonna have to probably review that. And I already have to fucking look forward to dealing with your shitty ass goddamn streaming platform when we watched the last season of Stranger Things. I'm not happy with you, Netflix. I'm not happy with you.
don't forget,
I fucking hate you.
Wednesday season 2. When
I know.
Apparently that's in production right now.
I know.
So, as you can see, Austin's relationship with Netflix has not changed.
No! Fucking after
Austin,
13 Reasons Why I wanted to be done. You know?
Austin did, Netflix did one positive thing.
And what's that?
They removed cuties from the platform.
Yeah, the one positive thing. Now remove Big Mouth, motherfucker.
But Austin Sneeko was upset about it when they did that.
I don't care. Sneeko could suck my fucking cock.
Jesus Christ. Well, fucking... Speaking of sexual things, we're about to get into this documentary of Vince McMahon doing sexual things. So, well, I don't know exactly what the documentary talks about because Vince himself is in it. But from what people are saying, a lot of the stuff they talk about in the documentary is pretty much stuff that is known already. There's like nothing new, I guess.
I heard some stuff that's really fucked, though.
But I don't know if they like actually go into detail about the lawsuit or anything like that, or stuff he did that's on the lawsuit or what. But I guess we'll find out.
Yep. You might as well get to the first episode.
Yep, it's called, episode 1 is called Junior. I think this episode is supposed to give like the backstory on Vince, I think.
Okay.
That's just my guess.
Well, let's just go ahead and get to it, because fuck me, Netflix just has to be on my radar all the goddamn time, so...
Yeah.
I don't like it. Well, let's get to episode 1.
Yep.
You're fired!
First episode as Devon gets his food out.
Yep.
Fucking...
It's called Junior.
Yep.
And we got some backstory behind Vince McMahon and his childhood and how he got into the wrestling business. And the episode was mainly about that and how he turned wrestling from the territory days into a mainstream phenomenon.
Yeah, and we got some cursed images along with it, like fucking...
Oh, yeah.
Vince
so many
McMahon
cursed
and...
people in this, too.
Vince McMahon was in a Komodo at one point, and fucking there was also one of him in a Speedo, and it looked disgusting.
Yeah.
Fucking... Some of the people that did the interviews were Hulk Hogan, Tony Atlas, Cody Rhodes, fucking Vince himself, fucking Stephanie, Shane, Triple H.
Yeah, fucking Bret Hart, fucking,
Linda.
Dave Meltzer, don't forget.
I really want to forget.
Bruce Pritchard, Paul Heyman, Eric Bischoff.
Fucking Dave Meltzer had to legit clean his room to fucking do this interview.
You know damn well he had to probably like spend hours cleaning that shit.
Yeah. Fucking... It's just fucking cursed as hell. There's also some cursed fucking... like... news reporters and shit. Cursed as hell. Fucking people. The Rock was there. I think Stone Cold was a part of it, yeah. Trying to think. Jimmy Hart. Fucking...
Yep. I think that might have been it. Oh, Linda McMahon also.
Yeah, I said Linda. Fucking... It was just... It's already, like... It's not as depressing yet, because it was just backstory mostly.
Yeah.
But, like... We know it's gonna get worse. We know it is.
Yeah, most of the episode talked about, like, Vince having, like, daddy issues, and fucking getting into the business when his dad needed help, and then eventually he took over the business when his dad didn't want to be in the business anymore, and nobody thought that he was going to make it. And then Vince took it over, and he decided instead of doing it the way of the territories, he wanted to take the World Wrestling Federation into the mainstream. And everybody thought he was crazy for doing it, but he did it and made it a success, and pretty much changed, like, even if you hate Vince, you gotta admit, like, he changed wrestling, like, completely. He completely changed how we view wrestling, and it wouldn't be what it is today if he hadn't have made those changes.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty much like him bringing in celebrities into wrestling and putting it on mainstream television and having all these crazy wrestling characters, and they talk about how it became more than just about having wrestling matches. It became more about entertainment and shit.
Yeah. There was also parts of this where they talked about a couple lawsuits before we get to the big lawsuit that we're probably going to get to next episode. But, there was like one about David Schultz and how he fucking slapped the fuck out of this dude for calling wrestling fake. He, oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen that clip of David Schultz before, but he fucking slapped the fuck out of this dude. And I guess gave him like permanent ear damage. Like, so he got sued, and everything. And there was one where Hulk Hogan, like, was on a fucking talk show, and he put in a chokehold on somebody and actually hurt the fucking host and had him fucking bleeding. It was like, fuck, I didn't know about these lawsuits. So for the people who have been saying, like, on Twitter, these fucking whatever the fuck they do for a living besides just sit on fucking Twitter all day, but like saying that everything's common knowledge. No, it's not. Dude, I've been a wrestling fan for legitimately pretty much all my life. Didn't know about these lawsuits. So
Same.
yeah.
Fucking they also talked about how originally, like, Hulk Hogan, like, a good bit of it is about, like, Hulk Hogan becoming this, like, worldwide megastar. And originally, like, they talk about how Hulk Hogan wasn't even originally going to be that guy because Vince wanted it to be Dusty Rhodes, but Dusty didn't want to do it. Oh, that's another person you forgot. Fucking Cody Rhodes was on this.
No,
as well.
I said Cody.
Fucking, but it was originally supposed to be Dusty Rhodes, but Dusty didn't want to do it, so Vince had to find somebody else, and he found Hulk Hogan, and so that's how Hulk Hogan became Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
And then we got to see the GOAT, the Legend of the Earth, Iron Sheik.
Yeah, because he was the transitional champion between Bob Backlund and Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, and then the whole part talking about, like, the controversy of, like, having an Iranian character and shit because Vince based it off of, like, real world stuff that was going on. And Vince, Vince sat there and said, fucking, at that time, I didn't think it was a big deal.
And he sat there, he was like, oh, you think of things like 20, 10, 5 years ago, and you're just like, and people ask if I regret some of the things that I do, and I'm like, nope, I don't regret any of it. And I'm just sitting here, and I'm like, so you don't regret anything, Vince? Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
in my opinion, the funniest part of this episode was when Vince was like, when Vince was talking about when his dad passed away, and he was like, you know, my dad told me that he loved me, and you know, I just, you know, I love my dad. I love my dad so much. And it jump cuts to Tony Atlas, and Tony Atlas is like, you know, I don't think he liked his dad. Such a jump cut.
It was like the biggest fucking jump cut. I mean, like, it was just also like there's another fucking moment in here. Oh, it was Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, he was sitting there talking about the Iron Sheik thing, and he was like, so when we were in the ring, we usually called spots. So calling spots, if you don't know, is actually just like talking in the ring. But then Hulk Hogan proceeded to say, see, I didn't tell him I was going to sit there and jump him before the bell rang. So he didn't know about that. But the rest we called spots. And he was so like shocked. They showed the footage.
Because he said, I attacked him before the match, and he didn't even know I was going to do it. But, you know, I just felt like that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean?
And they were showing the footage, and you could tell Iron Sheik is struggling because he doesn't know what the fuck is going on. And Hogan, you can tell Hogan's not calling spots either. He's just sitting there, fucking doing what the fuck ever.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, there's a lot of cursed shit in this fucking episode. Like, we're trying to think of the positives because there's really not much, man.
They had a whole part talking about, like, when WWF got, like, the TV deal with MTV and shit.
Yeah.
And fucking, they had, fucking Captain Lou Albano on there, and fucking, I can't remember the chick's name, but she's
Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah.
And they had they used it to promote a match with fucking Wendy Richter versus Fabulous Moolah and shit. And they also brought in fucking Mr. T, and then they talked about like the story behind like how WrestleMania was created, and they talked about the first WrestleMania and how it was literally like the biggest wrestling event ever, and it changed wrestling and shit.
And then there was also a part of this documentary where Hulk Hogan was talking about how he got the role for Rocky 3, which I honestly don't know how much I'm going to believe out of Hulk Hogan this entire thing, because I don't know if you believed the fact that he went up to fucking Vince McMahon Sr. and like Vince McMahon Sr. was like, oh, if you do Rocky 3, then you're just fired. And I don't think Hulk Hogan actually went, alright, and then he just left. I don't think that was the case. I think this is another case of Hulk Hogan lying his fucking ass off.
Well, from the people on Twitter that I've seen that have watched this whole series, they have said that Hulk Hogan lies off of his ass several fucking times. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was captain.
Like, cause I don't believe that. Are you telling me, okay, so, for example, if you were in this situation where your boss, you're in a wrestling company, and your boss is telling you, oh, you can't fucking, like, he's telling you, Devon, that you can't star in the next Nostalgia Critic review, and you're just like, you know what? And you're just like, you know what? No, I want to star in it, but then your boss says fucking that, sorry, I can't stop cracking up now. Fucking, your boss says, no, if you do that, you're fired. Are you gonna, like, just say, oh, alright, I'm gonna go, then? Like, are you gonna say that? Exactly. Like, there's no way.
According to Hulk Hogan, that's what he did.
Because, like, apparently
Rocky... he was glazing himself. He really was, because he was sitting there acting like, oh, Vince Sr. didn't want me to do this, but I knew better, brother. I knew that the Rocky franchise, it was bigger than The Godfather. It was bigger than this movie, and I knew that I had to go do this, and I had to fucking do it. And But he was, oh my god, he was really like glazing himself.
Yeah. It's not the biggest glazing in this documentary though, because Bruce Pritchard. Oh, man.
That went to Bruce Pritchard.
Oh,
He
dude.
was glazing everything that Vince McMahon did, like everything.
That's what he just does in real life. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And you had Dave Meltzer in this for like no reason, and then motherfucker literally sat there and he was like, "Oh, you know, wrestling was all about the stars. That's what it was about." You know, I'm like, yeah, that's why you have your shitty ass star rating system. So you know a lot about stars, Dave. Fucking asshat.
you know, Dave low-key kind of looks like fucking one of the Garbage Pail Kids. I can't remember which one it's called, but like his face just gives me that vibe. You know?
He looks like a troll.
Yeah.
Like, I'm shocked he actually cleaned his room.
Yeah. His fucking, like, face shape around his eyes kind of reminds me of, like, the baby from The Simpsons that Maggie fucking, like, has a feud with.
Oh. You know, Dave Meltzer does kind of look like Moses, like.
Oh, he does! I didn't even think about that. Not Moses, like. Oh, can we put, like, in post, I'm gonna put, like, Dave Meltzer's head on the clip of Moses Lack where he's like, this is how we get crunk. And then he starts fucking doing it.
Oh yeah, we also had more celebrities in this. Like, we've seen Sylvester Stallone in the Rocky portion. We've seen Muhammad Ali a couple times as well.
Yeah. Because for some cursed reason, Muhammad Ali had a match with Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
It was so cursed.
I don't know why.
And Gorilla Monsoon just looks like fucking Doc Ock. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
It's just completely fucking cursed, dude. You know, I'm surprised they didn't have... I don't know if they're gonna have them eventually, but I'm surprised they don't have other people that are close to Vince in these documentaries, like Jerry Lawler or something like that. You know? Because you would think...
Yeah. Fucking... Fuck off, Netflix. Why?
What?
It's like showing me advertisements coming soon to Netflix October 11th, Pixels. Why? Why are they bringing that to Netflix? Why is Henry Danger on Netflix?
Well,
what the fuck are we doing?
It's the recommended there, brother.
It's just showing ads for Netflix shows while I have it paused.
Oh, is it doing the fucking the screensaver shit?
Yes.
That's what I've told you before when it showed me like the uglies or whatever.
Can I ask you something? What is a limited series?
Oh. That's basically a series kind of like the one we're reviewing right now, where it's like 6 or so episodes, and it's only like a short story or a documentary series.
I thought it meant like it was only there for a limited amount of time.
No.
But, I mean, that was pretty much the first episode, just kind of more of like a backstory behind how Vince came to be the owner of WWE and shit.
Yeah.
And how wrestling changed in the 80s.
I feel like it's gonna get a lot less, like, not a lot less, but a lot more depressing. I wish it was a lot less depressing. This fucking hell.
And you can tell, like, by the way, all the segments with Vince when he's talking, they say that like this was filmed like before the allegations came out.
They were formed specifically in 2021.
Yeah.
Because this documentary was actually a little bit of background. This documentary was announced before all the fuck shit happened where he had to retire. So it was going to be a positive one. And it just It went so downhill.
Another bad thing I saw about this is apparently like Vince just really didn't care about doing this documentary because apparently like when he would go there to like film and stuff, like he would arrive late all the time because he just didn't give a fuck.
Well, that's the thing. This is just part of their Netflix deal. Like, remember when all that stuff like fucking Escaping the Undertaker and The Main Event came out on fucking Netflix?
Yeah.
And the Big Show, yeah. All that stuff was part of their fucking deal here. And this was a part of it. There's also one more thing that's still in development that's a part of it that we're probably going to have to cover. It's a fucking Hulk Hogan biopic of fucking, and Chris Hemsworth plays Hulk Hogan. So that's going to be lovely. Yeah, that's still in development. That's still in development, by the way.
Oh, that sounds so terrible. You know, if it's a Hulk Hogan bio, it's gonna be filled with so many lies. Bro.
I know, I know, but that's all of what biopics is, bro. Have you seen the fucking Bohemian Rhapsody? That whole fucking movie is a lie.
I know, but it's gonna be like 10 times worse because it's Hulk Hogan, so it's gonna be like lies times 10.
I know.
The lies are probably gonna be lies.
I know.
Jesus Christ, dude.
But that's the last thing that I remember that's actually like contracted by Netflix. That's the last thing that's confirmed to be done, duty-wise, for Netflix, unless they make another deal. But besides, like, they have the Raw deal, but like you know what I mean. Like I'm not talking about like exclusive shit that won't go.
Imagine a Hulk Hogan documentary. That would be a spectacle.
Oh, I don't think I could do that. I think that's where I draw the line.
Only with Hulk Hogan interviews as well.
Oh, there's no way, bro. There's just no way that would ever get made. Are we ready to get to the second episode?
Yes, sir. Episode 2 is called Heat.
Yep. So
let's see what this is about. But that was episode 1. Probably only gonna go downhill from here.
Oh yeah. It's like at least we get like a little starting point before the fuck shit. Because with Quiet on Set we didn't get that. We just got straight fuck shit. So at least there's that.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and get to it.
Episode 2, baby.
You're fired!
No. Just no.
This was episode 2, which was called Heat, and my god, there's a lot of it.
Yeah. Oh my god, bro.
This episode was, it started off just talking about, the success of WrestleMania, and then how Vince did WrestleMania 2 and tried to make it bigger, and it flopped, and then he did WrestleMania 3, and they talked about Hogan and Andre and all this shit, and then, they were talking about WrestleManias, and then they talked about fucking WrestleMania 6 with the Ultimate Warrior and how he was supposed to be the next guy, and then he didn't end up being the next guy because he's a piece of garbage. But then there's a whole part talking about Sergeant Slaughter and when they gave him the fucking Iranian gimmick.
Yeah, the Iraqi sympathizer.
Yeah. And Vince, basically the reason that was a thing was because in real life there was shit going on with the US versus Iran and shit, and Vince said in the documentary, he legit said, and I quote, why don't we capitalize on it? And then it got extreme backlash to where Sergeant Slaughter was getting death threats and his children was getting death threats, and Hulk Hogan said that it was awesome that was happening.
So
And
bad.
it just got worse. It got worse because after that it started. This is where we start getting into the heat, because this is the point of when it started turning into talking about the scandals that the WWF started getting into at the time, and it wasn't good. There was so many. There was
the one infamous one with Jimmy Snuka and his wife being like murdered. Of course, it wasn't ruled as a homicide at that point, but we do speculate now. We're pretty sure Jimmy killed her. So, and then there was a shit with Pat Patterson, the Tom guy, and somebody else, like, basically targeting these young boys that are, like, set up the ring for sexual favors.
Yep. And then there was the fucking goddamn female referee, goddamn Rita.
I'm gonna talk about this one. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this one. Because I have to, like, I can't get over this. I genuinely can't get over this. This is the most fucked thing I've ever heard. This is the most fucked thing I've ever fucking heard. So we're seeing...
It just shows you how much Vince doesn't give a fuck, truly.
I know. But legitimately, so this whole situation, like, is happening, and she, like, describes the rape on this show and everything that she was on years ago.
Yeah, basically, she, basically what it was is she said that Vince, like, forced himself on her, and the only way she would get, like, paid the money that he offered her to be the first ever female referee and stuff was if she satisfied him sexually and fulfilled his desires, and when she couldn't do that, he raped her, pretty much, so...
And, this is what Vince had to say. Vince had to say that it was consensual. He said this was consensual, by the way. She said that her wrists were black and blue, by the way. But he said this is consensual, and that even if it was an alleged rape, the statute of limitations was already up by then.
Yep. Shit you not. He said that.
That is the most sickening thing I think I have ever fucking heard. I cannot get over that. As soon as we both heard that, Devon started fucking choking. I was in awe. Jesus fucking Christ. How was he just gonna say that and think that was okay?
Because
in a documentary that was supposed to... Yeah, but he was gonna say that. He said that before, like, all the other allegations came out. So fucking... He just thought that was gonna be okay to air out on Netflix.
Well, you know who else thought that everything was okay? Bruce Pritchard.
Of course he did! Because his meat is fucking so far down Vince's throat, you would think he was fucking Janelle Grant.
There was a whole part where Bruce Pritchard was talking about the pedo allegations, and he said, and I quote, "All that stuff with the young boys, I don't believe it. I don't think it happened."
Like, bro.
He said it was just made up and it was a conspiracy against Vince, and then there was like a whole part where they're talking about how all these critics were writing news articles about Vince and starting all these scandals, and he said it was just a conspiracy against Vince. He was glazing him so hard. Like fucking hell.
Like, Jesus Christ.
And then it got worse than that, because then they started talking about the biggest fucking trial, the steroid trial because there was allegations about fucking the wrestlers in WWF using steroids and abusing steroids, because the fucking doctor that was prescribing steroids to them got arrested by the fucking US government for illegal distribution of fucking steroids, and fucking the number one fucking person that was accused of using steroids was Hulk Hogan. Because of course it was, and then Vince had to go on trial, and Vince denied everything, and fucking Hulk Hogan, even though Vince sat there, because Hulk Hogan went on this talk show, and Vince told him, just come clean and just admit to everything. Hulk Hogan said, oh, I don't use steroids. I've never used steroids. Bro. What the fuck? And then Hulk Hogan did even more bullshit, because there's a whole part where they talked about how Hulk Hogan left the WWF because of the whole steroid trial shit, and then he went to WCW, and Vince was fucking pissed that he went to WCW.
Motherfucker. And the reason he did this, so Vince was like, could have went to had jail time for 11 years. Mm-hmm. And this motherfucker Hulk Hogan had me fucking dying, because I could tell this was cap, because he said the reason he did this was because, and he went on trial against McMahon, was because that he was told if he didn't, they were going to go against him, and he could serve 17 years. He pulled that number out of his fucking ass. Yeah. There's no way that you would get more years for, taking it and not distributing it. What do you mean?
Hulk Hogan was just, he continued the self-glazing. And there's a whole part about him doing these movies. And by the way, there's this movie that we're gonna have to watch that was written by Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon. So
no holds barred, man.
Yeah, no holds barred. It's so bad. There's a scene that they showed of Hulk Hogan saying Dookie, and it's so cursed. And then after he left WWF, he was making all these shitty movies. And Hulk Hogan was just I'm not an actor, I don't like sitting in a trailer all day. And then Eric Bischoff offered him to come to WCW, because basically they were just going to offer Hogan a shit ton of money to just work whenever the fuck he wanted to. And Vince got fucking pissed, because he thought Hulk Hogan, their deal was he would release him, but Hulk Hogan was not allowed to go wrestle anywhere else. And Hulk Hogan just said, fuck that. And then this motherfucker talked about how when he lied about not using steroids, he said that was a hole that he dug for himself, and it was a stupid mistake and shit. And he laughed about it. And I'm like, bro, you still do that. You still lie. Recently, we talked about on the podcast, this motherfucker got himself in a whole world of shit because this motherfucker was on Logan Paul's podcast, and he talked about people not liking him because of the racist stuff and everything. And motherfucker said, oh, well, people like Chris Benoit, and I mean, I'm not as bad as Chris Benoit. Dude! What the fuck? He's still doing it, so I don't know why he was laughing, saying, oh yeah, that was just a dumb thing I did. You do it all the time! You're famous for telling lies your entire career. There's a whole fucking pages and subreddits dedicated. There's videos and fucking goddamn documentary dedicated to your fucking lies that you told over the years, motherfucker. Holy shit. No, it's no wonder the fucking Iron Sheik hated this man's fucking soul. Oh my god.
like we were talking about this in the last review, last part of the video about like a Vince McMahon, like not a Vince McMahon, a fucking Hulk Hogan documentary, and fucking I'm afraid that would be like more inaccurate than the Andre the Giant HBO documentary. Do you know how inaccurate that fucking documentary is?
How inaccurate?
Like, all of it's, like, fucking, like, I would say about 90% of it is not true.
Oh my
And they
God.
did not do research.
Well, Austin, don't you worry, because Vince McMahon said that they got a lot of this documentary wrong, and a lot of it is inaccurate, is what Vince said.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, the fact that he just said that the statute of limitations were already up by that time, I can tell you, he raped that fucking woman. Alright? So,
Yeah,
don't even with me.
At the end of the episode, in the credits, they even said, in 2023, the statute of limitations was lifted so they could investigate it. So he was wrong. Motherfucker sat there and tried to flex that the statute of limitations had passed, so he couldn't be prosecuted for it. And then it said, oh, by the way, after this documentary, it was lifted and they're investigating it. So it's like, this motherfucker...
Like, just by the way he talked, I know that woman is raped, and I feel so bad.
Like, it's because he just said for no reason, all he had to have just said is, you know, it didn't happen, it was just false allegations or whatever. That's all he had to say. But no, this motherfucker went out of his way to say, well, even if it was, the statute of limitations is over anyway. Like, you went out of your way to make that point. That shows that you fucking... Why else would he... That was just him being cocky because he knew he got away with it. That's all that was, bro. Like, he just wanted to rub it in that he got away with it.
Like, I am so... Oh my god, like, we have talked and talked and talked about Vince McMahon and all his fucking shit on the podcast so much within the past, like, 2 years. But oh my fucking god, I did not realize how fucking delusional. Jesus Christ. Like, this is the shit he was bragging about in 2021.
And when they were asking him about all the other fucking shit besides the steroid trial and the rape allegations, Vince just said it was all a government conspiracy against his business and that he was innocent. And he said when he was in court, they told him to just accept one of the charges and just be done with it. And Vince said no, and he refused to plead guilty to anything because he said, and I quote, I know I haven't done anything wrong. It's a government conspiracy. Like, hey, bro.
Another thing I feel like just so bad about for that woman is in the fucking show that she, like, sat there and like, explained all that stuff, even the audience was like, oh, did you just want to get on national television? Like, they were being so ignorant. Like, even the fans. Like, what are we doing? I know it was, like the 80s, but damn.
Like, one of the people that wrote, like, the news articles, like, calling out Vince and stuff back then, like, they had a whole little segment of that where, like, the dude was just talking about, like, it didn't really matter how many articles people put out about Vince or whatever, like, whatever allegations, because, like, he was one of the... Like, Vince and the WWF was one of the biggest, like, things on television, and it was so mainstream that people didn't want to look into the allegations because they didn't want to fucking mess with how fucking massive he was and shit. It's just like, holy shit, bro. Like, he was untouchable at that time. Like, holy fuck.
God damn, bro.
Like, I thought this was just gonna be about Vince, but it just has to be the gruesome twosome of Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan. Like, I swear, so far this has been like half Vince and half Hulk Hogan. Like, Jesus Christ.
Well,
dude.
don't worry, Devon, because we're already terrified enough for the next episode, because the next episode is called Screwjob, and we know who that's going to be about.
Yep. Yep. Mr. Bret the Hitman Hart.
I am just, like, baffled at how fucked this man's brain is. Oh my god.
Yep. Like, I don't even know, man. It's just gonna get so much worse, I feel like. It's just... Because I'm assuming now, like, the next episode is gonna be getting into, like, the new generation era and the Attitude Era. Because the description's talking about people defecting to WCW and shit, which is what started the Attitude Era. So...
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be so fucking cursed. This one was already bad enough because of fucking Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon. I don't know how it can get any more cursed, but I know it's going to.
Oh, man.
And maybe fucking goddamn Bruce Pritchard will get the cock out of his mouth for like 5 seconds.
He never will, dude. He never will.
Oh, and by the way, they also showed, like, in some of the trial footage, they showed Dave Meltzer, and he motherfucker had, like, a mullet. He looked ugly as fucking 80s.
He just looks ugly as fucking general.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like Smeagol.
Oh my god. His face is just wrinkles, that's all it is. Like, it's just like, I don't even know how to describe it. His face is just like it's like a fucking texture of like a fucking boulder.
He kind of looks like fucking Tom Tucker's son from Family Guy.
You know, the sad thing is his documentary is trying to make Dave Meltzer look like a fucking level-headed guy, but he's fucking out of his mind because he fucking loves AEW. So
yeah.
So Dave Meltzer's he's not a good person. Don't let the documentary make you think he is.
No, and I mean he's not as bad of a person as Vince or Hogan, but he's like the third worst person in this fucking documentary.
No, he's the fourth, because I'm not putting him above Bruce Pritchard, because at least he's not defending Vince.
I forgot about Bruce Pritchard. I'm trying to forget already about Bruce Pritchard.
I wouldn't be surprised if Bruce Pritchard, like, partook in a lot of this shit that Vince was doing. And you want to know why? Because all the other allegations, you want to know what Bruce Pritchard had to say of the stuff that was true? He said, no comment. That's what Bruce Pritchard said. So, fuck you, motherfucker.
I think he's still on, like, the team, I believe.
Jesus Christ. I don't even know, to be honest.
Man, bro. It's
like,
just...
And there was like a whole thing where they're talking about how, like, the pedo stuff was these 2 other people and Pat Patterson, and then fucking Pat Patterson got fired or whatever. And then there's like a whole segment of Bruce Pritchard where he was like, oh, when I found that out, I was like, why did Pat Patterson get fired? He's innocent. He would never do anything like that. Pat Patterson is innocent. And so I told them that you need to bring Pat Patterson back because they're just going after him because he's gay and it's a gay witch hunt. And motherfucker is up and down saying Pat Patterson is innocent, and right after that, I shit you not, they fucking cut to Tony Atlas, and I swear to God, it goes from Bruce Pritchard saying Pat Patterson is innocent to Tony Atlas saying, yeah, Pat Patterson grabbed my pecker in the locker room. I'm not joking. Like, what the fuck?
Word for word what he said, too.
Yes.
I just This is so
my fucking God.
fucked.
I know.
Like, oh, I knew it was gonna be bad, but Jesus.
And then they're also trying to like fucking Vince was trying to deflect all the steroid stuff because he was just like, oh, you know, everybody was doing it. It wasn't just us. And they were showing like Arnold and fucking Sylvester Stallone and all these other people that did steroids. And Vince was like, oh, Steve, you know, it wasn't just us. And I'm like, that's not the point. They're not saying it's just you doing it. They're fucking saying that you're distributing it to all these other fucking people.
Don't forget, he also bragged about doing it himself.
Yes, he was very open, saying he's like, I mean, I did steroids and I thought it was fine. And they're like, what the fuck? And then fucking Bruce Pritchard sat there and was like, oh, it was okay until it was illegal. And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's not okay, because it's illegal, you idiot. Like, Jesus Christ, I've never seen someone with so much fucking dick in their mouth in my life. Like, when people said that this man was glazing, I didn't think it was to this level. Like, dude. Holy shit.
It's fucking bad.
So, Austin, we're only 2 episodes in. How do you think this compares to Quiet on Set?
Don't even ask me. Just don't even ask me, man. I just don't even ask me. Oh, God.
Because in Quiet on Set, we just had shit going on with kids. And this, we got kids, we got rape, we got drugs, we got everything. We got a whole smorgasbord.
I need a fucking drink, dude. Like,
Like, oh shit. But, yeah, that was episode 2. Heat. A fucking lot of it. So much of it. Too much of it.
You know, I'm really terrified because they did announce that Diddy documentary. If that's gonna be worse than this.
It is, probably. But, there's also a part I wanted to mention where they're talking about Hogan and Andre at WrestleMania 3. And there's a whole part with Vince talking about, oh, I knew Andre's back was fucked up and that he couldn't really walk anymore. But I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna ask him to fucking wrestle. And he fucking legit told Andre on the fucking movie set he was working on, he legit told Andre, he was like, I know your back's fucked up, so I want you to get back surgery, and then I want you to wrestle at WrestleMania. And like, dude. And then fucking it got even worse because they had the match, and then they had fucking Vince and they had goddamn Bruce Pritchard and all these other people saying like, oh yeah, we build this as Hogan and Andre, the biggest match ever that's never happened before. And they were like, oh, I mean, it did happen several times. And do you think it was the first time Hogan slammed Andre? No, obviously not. And they literally just sat there and said, but I mean, people are fucking stupid, so they fucking believed it. Like, bro.
The worst part about it is they kept saying 93,000 was in that like stadium too, and even fucking Hulk Hogan was like, oh, 93,113, because he had to do it. He had to up the ante, and then Dave Meltzer was just like, there were 73,000 people in there. No, it was 78. There were 78,000 people there. There wasn't 93.
Yeah.
And I was just like, bro.
Yeah, and then after they said that, they're like, oh, well, nobody truly knows how much it was.
I'm just like, bro.
But it was a lot.
It's just like why? Especially Hulk Hogan. Stop fabricating shit. Just tell the truth. Like, God damn it.
He can't help it. And I'm not even joking. I'm not even fucking joking. Like, there was a part where Hulk Hogan was talking about, I swear to God, they have to be editing it this way on purpose. Like, there's a part where Hulk Hogan was talking about how he was telling the truth, and he was truthful, and then it cuts to every single person that's being interviewed, and they're like, oh yeah, Hulk Hogan's a liar. All he does is tell lies. All he does is fucking lie. And I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
Jesus fucking Christ, dude. We need to get to the next episode, though.
It's gonna get worse. It's just gonna get so much worse, dude.
I know, man, I know.
Well, the next episode is called Screwjob, so we know what that's gonna be about, so let's get to that.
On to the screw job where Brett screwed Brett.
And Vince gets knocked the fuck out, apparently.
You're fired!
Oh my fucking god. This dude! Bro, I just...
This was episode 3, Screwjob.
No, you know what it should have been called? It should have been called I Regret Nothing. I regret none of the things I have done. None of the sick and twisted fucking things I have done. Because that's all he fucking said!
Yeah, basically everything they talked about, it was like so just bad and so fucked and made Vince look so terrible. And Vince was just like, yeah, you know, like it was bad, it was stupid, and I shouldn't have done it. But you know what? I don't regret anything. I have no regrets. Like what
This man, bro. This man said the N-word on live television. And he doesn't regret that. This man raped women. He doesn't regret it. Like, what the fuck?
Well, remember, if he raped them, the statute of limitations is over, remember?
They did! There's no fucking statute of limitations. It's bullshit, bro. That's what it is.
Well, this episode, before all that shit, was about fucking how basically after Hulk Hogan went to WCW, people like Randy Savage and fucking Lex Luger and shit started going to WCW, and basically all of it was Eric Bischoff's idea, and they started taking all the WWF's top stars, and they were more cool and hip than WWF, and basically Vince got all offended that they were taking their top stars, and Vince was like trying to say that Ted Turner was like this big bully that was trying to bully little old Vince McMahon.
Yeah. Bullies. Keep in mind, like he just calls everybody bullies now. Mm-hmm. Like in the last episode we didn't mention, he called the government and the FBI bullies.
Mm-hmm. And he called the critics bullies as well. And even in this episode, fucking he was like talking. They were asking him about like fucking it was something about like hurting WCW or whatever. Like fucking Vince said something. He was like, "Oh, he basically said like it's fine if I hurt people, but if somebody hurts me, they have no right to do that." Or he said something like that.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
Because they were comparing what Eric Bischoff did in taking his stars to what Vince McMahon did in taking all the stars from the territories, and Vince was like, no, that's not the same. But then when the guy was like, but that is the same, he was like, no, they don't have the right to hurt me, but I have the right to hurt them. We're just sitting here in awe.
And then he started talking about his whole thing. He's like, oh, my philosophy is that, you know, fucking, like, it's okay if I do things, but if other people do things to me, then that's just not okay. And he was saying, like, this weird shit. And the people who were doing the interview were just like, what? And Vince started saying this weird shit about, like, oh, you wouldn't understand because you're not a businessman. And sometimes as a businessman, you have to say things that you don't really. You have to say things in public that you truly don't believe within yourself. and he was like, but you have to say it in a way that, you know, people will think that that's what you believe. And I'm like, what the fuck are you on about? And they're just so confused at what he was saying. And even Vince was like, I know what I'm saying probably makes me sound like a hypocrite, but trust me, I'm not a hypocrite.
I don't even know what to say anymore with this dude. Like, I don't understand.
Like, another big part of it was they talked about how Scott Hall and Kevin Nash went to WCW, and basically they had this like final hurrah or whatever of, like,
the curtain
this house
call
show. Yeah, the curtain call where Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels all like hugged each other or whatever and broke kayfabe, I guess, and fucking they got a lot of backlash for it, and Vince was fucking pissed, and fucking basically he couldn't do anything to Scott Hall and Kevin Nash because they left to go to WCW, and he couldn't do anything to Shawn Michaels because he was the champion at the time, so he basically told Triple H he was going to have to eat shit and like the taste of it, is what he said. And Triple H was supposed to win the King of the Ring, but Vince said, fuck you, and took that away from him and shit, and punished Triple H for it. And then Scott Hall and Kevin Nash showed up to WCW and became the Outsiders, and basically WCW was taking all these shots at WWE, like they had fucking Alundra Blaze show up on WCW, and she fucking threw away the WWF Women's Championship in the trash, and just like there was just so much constant shots at WWE making fun of, or WWF making fun of them, and Vince got all upset and started talking about how Ted Turner was bullying him and trying to put his homegrown family business out of business because he was being a big meanie, and fucking so
his words, dude.
And their fucking response was to make a skit making fun of Ted Turner, Hulk Hogan, and Randy Savage, and Ted Turner just laughed his ass off at it, and fucking so then Vince went into like defense mode, so he tried to like offer Bret Hart a 20-year contract so he wouldn't leave.
And then he couldn't pay for that contract.
Yeah. And then fucking he knew Bret was gonna leave, so basically he this is where we get to the part about the screw job, where basically he knew Bret was gonna leave, but Bret was the world champion, so he said to Bret that he's like, I need to take the title off of you because I can't have you show up there with the world title. But fucking the reason Bret didn't want to lose it was because he was facing Shawn Michaels, and they fucking hated each other's guts in real life at the time, and Bret refused to drop the title to him, also because it was also in fucking Montreal, Canada, at Survivor Series, and basically Vince was trying to convince Bret to do it, and Bret just straight up refused. So Vince pretty much said that he, basically Triple H said that it was him, Shawn Michaels, and Vince on a call, and Vince was complaining about how Bret was just refusing, and Triple H said that he said, well, if he's not going to do it, then fuck it, just do it for him. And fucking, so that is where they came up with the idea for the screw job. So in the match, fucking Shawn Michaels puts Bret Hart in the sharpshooter, and Vince starts calling for the bell. They ring the bell, and there's this cursed ass clip where Bruce Pritchard was talking about how he didn't know that was going to happen, and there's a clip of him like reacting to Vince ringing the bell, and fucking Bruce Pritchard is like, he's like shocked, and he's like, holy shit. And Then fucking Bret Hart got pissed and started going on a tirade and fucking destroying the ringside area, and fucking the Hart Foundation had to come calm him down and shit. And then there was like so much fucking chaos in the back because everybody was accusing Triple H and Shawn Michaels of screwing Bret, and they were saying that they didn't have anything to do with it and it was Vince's idea even though they knew about it. And fucking they showed like backstage footage of like Bret straight up asking Shawn Michaels like, did you fucking know about this? Because Bret Hart looked like he was ready to fucking murder somebody. And
well, he legit said he was about to beat fucking Vince McMahon to death.
Yeah. And fucking Shawn was saying like, he said honest to God I had nothing to do with it. And then they had a clip of fucking Bret Hart's wife or whatever saying like, oh, fucking Shawn and Hunter, like, one day what goes around comes around and shit. And fucking then fucking Vince fucking knew he fucked over Bret really bad, so he said that he owed it to Bret to let him punch him, I guess. So Vince went into the locker room, and Bret and Vince like started like grappling each other, and then Bret Hart punched the fuck out of Vince McMahon and knocked him the fuck out. And Bret Hart was sitting there fucking bragging about it. He was like, you know, I just took my shot. I had one shot, one opportunity, and I captured it. And he fucking punched Vince McMahon in the temple and knocked him unconscious, and Vince got a concussion from it. And Bret was like, he was all happy. He was like, oh man, you know, I gotta say, it was the best fucking thing I ever did in my life. And shit. And oh, it was so cursed, dude.
You know, I
Bret fucking walked out of the company.
Yeah, I will say, hearing a lot of these people brag about what they did to Vince is very heartwarming to me, honestly, at this point, because we didn't just have Bret saying that, we also had fucking Eric Bischoff constantly, every time he was on screen, just being a complete dick to Vince McMahon. Yeah. There was one point where he was like, oh, how many times was I beating WWE? Oh wait, 83 weeks. Was it 84 or is it 83? I believe it was 83. And then he was like, 83 weeks is the name of my podcast. Nice plug there. And they're fucking just fucking rubbing it in.
Yeah, and they were also talking about like how WCW was like just beating the crap out of WWF and making fun of them while they were doing it, and like they said like people were telling Vince like, we have to change, like times are changing, like we have to change or we're gonna go out of business. And Vince's response to that was just, I know, but not right now. I'll change when I want to change and shit. But then Vince wanted to complain that Ted Turner was trying to make him go out of business and shit. And he just called everyone bullies. And then fucking after the whole screw job segment, they had a segment with Vince where he was talking about the screw job, and he was like, yeah, you know, I fucked Bret over pretty bad, but you know, it was business and it was what had to be done, and you know, I wish we could have went about it differently and shit, and you know, I fucked over this person and that person, and you know, it was just really bad and it was really ugly, but you know what? I don't regret it. It's like, what the fuck, dude?
You know, see, he showed a little bit of remorse for Bret, but at the opening segment to this fucking episode, they were talking about the same thing that happened to Wendy Richter because she didn't want to drop the title, and he just had straight up no remorse. He was like, she's just being a little difficult, so I had to just take it away from her.
Yeah, then he said like, you know, I'm a businessman and it was nothing personal, but you know, that title was mine and she couldn't have it. And the same thing with Bret. He was like, you know, like it wasn't anything personal. It was business, but you're not gonna take what's mine.
It's like, why?
Yeah. Like, and then they also had a part where, like, they showed, like, Hulk Hogan turning into Hollywood Hogan and the whole NWO craze. And we got this cursed-ass clip of Rey Mysterio being lawn darted into a fucking trailer by Kevin
Don't
Nash.
forget the fucking, the Hollywood Hulk Hogan head
Yeah.
footage we saw right after that. Like, directly after it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were even asking, like, Vince and Bruce Pritchard and stuff. They're like, oh, like, Hulk Hogan was amazing as a heel. Like, did you guys ever have plans to turn him heel or anything? And Vince was just like, no, I never wanted him to be heel. And then Vince was like, my idea of Hulk Hogan was that he was always just going to be the good guy that did everything right and stood up for justice. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And then I thought about it when he said that, Austin. I was like, you know, it kind of makes sense that he even says that now because he did the same thing with John Cena and he did the same thing with Roman Reigns. So I'm not surprised that he said that.
Yeah.
And then fucking Bruce Pritchard was like, he was like, oh yeah, like, we were never going to turn Hulk Hogan heel. Hulk Hogan was always supposed to be a babyface no matter what. And then he turned heel, and we were like, oh shit, this is brilliant. We fucked up.
Fucking hell. It's just so, like, his philosophy is just so fucked. It's so fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, his philosophy is that he can do whatever he wants to people, and no one is allowed to do or say anything bad to him or about him, and he also can do whatever he wants without any ramifications or repercussions, and he has no regrets of anything.
In this whole episode, was just him talking about how he has no regrets, but also that he was saying, oh, well, you know, I just hate being hurt, and everything gets personal. And I just it's just like, why?
There's like parts of him talking about, oh, Hulk Hogan hurt my feelings, and fucking, oh, it was, you know, it wasn't just a business relationship, it was a personal relationship, and we were friends, and Hulk Hogan really hurt my feelings, and Bret Hart hurt my feelings, and shit.
Like, why? Why? Who gives a fuck who hurt your feelings? You said it yourself. It was business. Bro, I doubt if this was somebody like Coco Beware. Like, I doubt your feelings would have been hurt.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if the one-man gang did this to fucking goddamn Vince McMahon. How would he feel? Probably not that bad.
Yeah. Oh, and also the beginning of this episode, I forgot to mention, was like the conclusion of the steroid trial, which was like Hulk Hogan actually defended Vince, so Vince was found not guilty, and then Vince thought that he was untouchable and like he was fucking invincible and shit, and no one could do anything to him.
It's like, why?
Yeah. And then at the end of the episode, fucking, I don't know what happened, fucking...
After the screw job and everything like that, basically, fucking, they transitioned it into, like, this was the turn of Vince into this, like, corporate media giant, into now Mr. McMahon, the character, and everything, and they talked about, like, the Attitude Era and all this shit.
Yeah, which the next episode is called Attitude, and it's gonna be all about the Attitude Era, so...
Which is just great.
It's when Vince was doing crazy fucking shit. Like,
I can imagine they're also going to talk about Owen Hart's death, which is probably, with how emotional Bret Hart was just talking about Owen, probably isn't going to go well.
I won't be shocked if Vince sits there and legitimately says, like, you know, oh, Owen's death was a tragedy, and, like, it was horrible, and then I guarantee after he says that, he's gonna be like, but you know what? I don't regret it. I know he's gonna say that.
He's gonna say that. If he says he doesn't regret, if he says he doesn't regret anything, he doesn't regret anything. He, like, legitimately, like, oh my god. Do you think he's gonna say that about Benoit? Oh my god, I didn't even realize that. We haven't even got to Benoit yet. Oh no. This has already been so bad.
Hashtag no regrets. That's what Vince lives by.
Fucking hell, dude. Just fucking hell.
But that was episode 3, Screwjob.
Yeah. I will say I have regrets. I have so many.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is one of them.
Well, we're officially halfway through this docu-series. Austin, how you feeling? Or at the halfway point?
I feel like I want to get it over with as soon as possible. Honestly. Like, I know we can't do the rest tonight because it is legit almost 2 a.m. for me and almost 3 a.m. for you.
Yep.
But, legitimately, I would not be opposed to recording the last 3, like, tomorrow.
Jesus Christ.
Because this is bad, Devon. This is bad.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Fucking. Well, up next is gonna be episode 4, Attitude. So we'll be back with our next fucking recording session for episode 4 of the Mr. McMahon docu-series on Netflix.
Fucking hell, man.
Remember, live your life with no regrets.
Oh, Jesus Christ. On to it.
You're fired!
Oh, fucking hell. Back with another recording session.
Yeah, fucking. We just got done watching episode 4, Attitude, and it basically. Half of it was focusing on the Attitude Era, and then the other half focused on the Owen Hart tragedy that happened in 1998. So, yeah, it was just more Vince spouting bullshit. They basically talked about how WCW was killing them in the ratings, so Vince, like, everybody was telling Vince, like, we need to change, and then finally Vince was like, okay, we're gonna fucking give people what they want, and we're gonna fucking be edgy and push the envelope. And then they talked about the rise of people like Stone Cold and The Rock, and fucking them bringing in Mike Tyson and DX and all this shit, and how business started turning around and they started beating WCW, and WCW pretty much was fucked after that, and that was the birth of the Attitude Era, pretty much. And fucking then there was like a whole part where they were asking Vince, they said, what's the difference between, because they were talking about the rise of the Mr. McMahon character and shit, and they were asking Vince, what's the difference between Mr. McMahon the character, and Vince McMahon, the person. And Vince said that they're two completely different people. And then they cut to Shawn Michaels, and Shawn Michaels like, oh, there's not much of a difference between the two. And then, like, even Bruce Pritchard, who's like the biggest glazer, was like, he's like, yeah, fucking Vince is literally like what you see on screen. That's just Vince. That's how he is. And he's like, oh, even though Vince says it's not, it is. And then fucking, they were telling Vince, they're like, oh, Bruce Pritchard said that like you're the Mr. McMahon character in real life, and that you've acted like that towards him. And fucking Vince like laughed, and he was like, oh, well, Bruce Pritchard can think that. And he was like, you know, I'm just really passionate about the business. And sometimes he's like, sometimes my passion, like I can go too far sometimes and shit. And fucking, we had The Rock and Stone Cold doing interviews on this episode, as well as Shane and Stephanie. And fucking then they started to talk about the Owen Hart tragedy, and basically how, like, after Bret Hart left, basically Vince fucked over Owen because he was mad at Bret, and it gave him all these stupid characters. And then they started talking about the Blue Blazer, and then they talked about the tragedy that happened where Owen Hart was supposed to fly down to the ring on a harness or whatever, but it was defective, I guess, and he fell to his death pretty much.
Yeah. You know, I have a little insight on the Owen Hart thing. This is probably something like you wouldn't expect in a review, but I actually did a schoolwork assignment sophomore year on the Owen Hart tragedy.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know why. This is like right before COVID, keep in mind. So my teacher was like, it was my English teacher, and they wanted, like, this teacher wanted everybody to write a speech about a tragedy. The first one I thought of was Chris Benoit, but I don't know if a speech about a murder-suicide would be really school appropriate. So I was trying to think of other tragedies that I knew about that weren't, going to be taken, because, stuff like 9/11 and shit like that was already taken. So I thought, oh, the Owen Hart tragedy.
Yeah.
I'm glad I got out of that speech. I wrote it. I got a B, but I didn't have to speak it in front of the class because of the contents of it.
Jesus Christ.
But I got a good grade. This is the good point. It's the point.
Yeah.
But
fucking, and then after they talked about the Owen Hart tragedy, they had like a part where, like, at first, like, Bret was mad and he thought that, like, that they murdered Owen to get back at him, and then, like, once the investigation concluded and they found out that it was an accident, Bret said he forgave Vince.
But first he was there was also, like, parts of the interview where it was like that he had where, I think it was an older interviewer who said if Shane McMahon, like, basically splatted on the mat, I don't think Vince would continue the show. And then Vince was like, actually, if my son, even if me splatted on the mat like that, we would still continue the show. There's no, because your own son, dog. Oh my god, dude! Like, how?
That's just fucking Vince. And fucking, like he thought that was like the best thing to do for some reason, and everybody else was just like, you shouldn't have fucking continued the show, and Vince was just like, oh, yes, I should have. Like,
all of the clips from the show that they showed, like everybody seemed so uncomfortable. Like they showed a promo of Jeff Jarrett, and he was like, "Owen Hart, I'm praying for you, buddy." And then he started talking about puppies, and you could see in his eyes he was so distraught. Like,
yeah.
and then they still had Owen's blood on the mat. So there was like a shot of The Rock right by Owen's blood, and he saw it and he immediately walked away. Like, it was fucked. It was genuinely fucked. But Vince wants the show must go on. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was not. It was not good.
You know what scares me?
What?
The fact that he said that, and what could have happened, with Tommy Dreamer and Paul Heyman. Imagine if that would have happened. Would Vince just continue the fucking show?
Probably.
Like, dude.
Like, especially since it was going to be WrestleMania as well. Like, you know he would have.
Oh my. It's just getting worse, dude. It's just getting worse.
Yeah, it's going to get worse because the next episode apparently is going to be about the Chris Benoit tragedy.
Oh.
So that's what they teased at the end.
I've already seen so much about. I know so much about that tragedy. Have you seen the Dark Side of the Ring episode on it?
No.
It's bad. Like, it's not a bad documentary. It's just bad. It's so much worse than you, like, when you just think of it as a murder-suicide and how, like, fucked it is. The Dark Side of the Ring two-parter, they go into fucking detail about what he did and how he killed him, or killed him and her and himself. It's so fucking dark, dude. No pun intended. I'm afraid that they might go into detail on this as well.
This is the longest episode so far. It's going to be an hour and 4 minutes.
I know.
Don't worry. Once we get to the end of this, fucking, there's going to be some fucking shit that we gotta talk about, or what Vince fucking tried to do before this documentary came out. Because motherfucker in this episode was like, oh, fucking perception is reality or whatever, and he was like, you know, people are they're gonna feel how they feel about you, and they can have their opinion of you, and at the end of the day, Vince was like, at the end of the day, you know, I don't really care what anyone thinks of me. And he was like, you know, you just gotta be yourself and not care what anybody thinks. And I sat there and I was like, so you're just gonna sit there and say, like, you don't give a shit what anybody thinks about you, but you're the same motherfucker that sat there and was trying to cover up this fucking documentary before it came out, which we'll get into later, and motherfucker tried to fucking pay people fucking hush money so they wouldn't expose all the fucking shit that he was doing, but he apparently doesn't care what people think of him and shit. Like, oh, fucking hell. And they even had fucking Jim Cornette in this episode as well. He wasn't, like, being interviewed, but he was, like, on commentary during some of the clips.
And I want to talk about Netflix, because their fucking captions are so stupid, bro. Because, number one, I had captions on for the live commentary for Thanksgiving. That's why I still have the captions on. I just can't be bothered to turn them off. But every time they say like Federation or F or anything, it's always changed to E or Entertainment. And also fucking like with fucking Jim Cornette, he calls himself James E. Cornette when he was in WWE. So when they played a clip on that, it said James T. Gordon instead of James E. Cornette. Like, they can't even get their fucking captions right, dude.
Yeah.
Trash ass Netflix, dog. But the rest of it was basically the rise of DX, The Rock, and Stone Cold. That was legit it. Besides the Owen tragedy.
Yeah, and then they had a whole part talking about, like, there's like an interview with Stephanie McMahon from like 2013, and she was like, oh, we did like the Mike Tyson stuff like before he like got accused of like rape and all that, right? And they were like, no. And she just had like the most like, oh fuck look on her face. And Vince just didn't really care, because he was just like, oh, you know, Mike Tyson was like the biggest fucking celebrity in the world at the time, and you know, he called him a media magnet and all this shit.
To be fair, I think around that time, I don't think anybody gave a fuck in general, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the 90s.
There's a part Austin loved, because there's a whole part where they were interviewing Trish Stratus, and they were talking about how the women were like overly sexualized in the Attitude Era, and they had a part where they talked about Sable, Austin's favorite woman, and Trish Stratus called her a pioneer of women's wrestling and shit. So there's that.
I've already said my piece about Sable, and truthfully, I don't want a giant fucking humongous fucking giant from Saskatchewan on my ass, so I prefer not to say any more piece about Sable, honestly. So,
but I think that was everything they covered in this episode. It wasn't like as cursed as the last three. It was just more sad because of the Owen Hart stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end, they talked about how like fucking Martha Hart like sued them for wrongful death or whatever, and then
fuck Martha.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's good that they sued fucking. I mean, they didn't deserve to sue WWE for that reason, but I guess for keeping the show to go on, that's suable worthy. But
yeah, like my thing with Martha Hart is like I completely understand like her being upset and everything like that, but my problem is like she like won't let his legacy be remembered.
Yeah.
And I like, but then like she lets AEW do it, which I don't understand, because he never fucking wrestled there, and they can't show his legacy because WWE owns it.
The only thing they might be able to show is WCW stuff.
And she's just a bitch about it, especially now. Like, I guess I kind of got, like, if Vince was still there, maybe that would be why, but, like, now that Vince isn't there anymore, I don't see why it would be such a bad thing for her to just let them, like, show, like, put Owen in the Hall of Fame and, like, fucking let his fucking legacy be honored and everything that he fucking deserves.
I bet you it's not even because of, like, a legacy thing or whatever, or even, like, that she's like hurt about Triple H like being there or whatever. I think it's more now, honestly, and this is why I genuinely just say fuck her. I think now, honestly, it's because of money. Because you know Tony Khan's paying her the big bucks.
Yeah, because they do the fucking Owen Hart Cup tournament every year now. And they put fucking Owen in the video game, and they made figures of Owen and stuff. But it's like, the really fucking old Owen, like before WWE, and like when they talk about the Owen tournament, like they can't even say that much about it because they can't show the footage of him in WWE, and the only person that they've really had that's really even made it feel like it meant anything was the one this year, because I don't know if you saw it, but fucking they had Jeff Jarrett in the tournament, and Jeff Jarrett gave like this really fucking like passionate promo about Owen, and he was like crying and shit.
I didn't see that. No.
Yeah.
Did he win it?
No. And
of course not. Of course not.
AEW fans were complaining, saying that Jeff Jarrett didn't deserve to be in the tournament. So there's that.
Wow. Just wow. Yeah. This is... I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm really not.
Yeah. Fucking... Like, when Bret Hart, of all people, can make amends with WWE, I don't see why fucking they couldn't do the same thing for Owen.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm sure fucking, like, I'm sure if, like, how do I want to say it? Like, I'm sure, like, Owen would fucking want that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure fucking Brett probably wants that as well. But it's just fucking Martha doesn't want to fucking let them fucking honor his fucking legacy, but then she'll fucking take fucking money from Tony Khan to do this fucking cheap-ass fucking tournament that doesn't mean anything. And the winners of the tournament don't even fucking get anything, just these fucking ugly-ass fucking Owen Hart championships that don't mean anything. Like, it's just... I think it's what you said. I think it's just for money. I think that's all it is. Because
when multiple people, multiple close friends, family even, like, have begged her to, like, let his legacy be remembered, it's nothing. I remember Mark Henry, I don't know what Hall of Fame it was, but Mark Henry did this heartfelt speech at the Hall of Fame ceremony where he was crying, and he was like, just Martha, let him be remembered. Like, it was like before AEW even existed or whatever, but still, like, just frustrating.
So when Martha dies, like, who would be, like, in control of it then?
I don't know, because I don't know if it'd be Brett. Does Owen have kids with Martha?
I think so, yeah.
Then it would be his kids.
Well, hopefully his kids would be fucking better people.
Let me see how old his kids are. Hart kids. Yeah, he has
like,
two kids.
I know there's probably some people that's like, oh, she probably doesn't want it to be remembered by WWE because she probably feels like they killed her husband, and she has every right to feel that way. But at the same time, like, it was proven to just be a fucking horrible accident, and you can't really hold that against them. And at the same time, I feel like it's also disrespectful to Owen to just not allow his legacy to be remembered. Like, I feel like that's kind of fucked up.
So, one of his kids, his son is in his 30s, born in 92, and his daughter was born in 95, so she's about to turn 30 next year.
Jesus. Oh.
They look exactly like him, too.
Jesus. All I can say is hopefully one day he'll be able to be in the Hall of Fame and everything like that.
Yeah.
But the next episode is called, it's episode 5, it's called Family Business, and it's apparently going to be about the Chris Benoit tragedy. So from one tragedy to another tragedy.
Oh, tragedies, man, why?
Yeah.
I'm just glad we're never reviewing the Dark Side of the Rings, because then we would be just in misery. We would just be in misery.
that, and I don't think you would want to, because I know Chris Jericho is like the narrator of some of those.
Yeah.
So.
Fuck him. But, yeah.
Oh, there was also a part in this I forgot to mention where they talked about ECW as well. And
yes.
they showed fucking Tommy Dreamer and Chris Jericho and shit. Because they were talking about like how Stone Cold was in ECW and they knew like that Vince wanted him. So they tried to make him look like as big of a star as possible and shit. And Paul Heyman was like saying that like ECW is what the business needed at the time or whatever. So I forgot to mention that as well. And then like they had Eric Bischoff saying that he was like, oh, you know, like I was like super cocky at the time because we were beating them in the ratings, and you know I thought like we were always gonna win. And then he was sitting there saying, oh, like Vince fucking completely ripped off everything I was doing, but he did it better and shit.
And then Vince was like saying, oh, well, he could say I like that Eric Bischoff played the heel character first, but in the end, I just did it better.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Vince just, he doesn't care. He just doesn't.
Fucking hell.
Well, fucking, are you ready to get into the next episode? Because it's probably going to be more depressing.
Yep. Just fuck me, dude. Man, that's the hard thing about being a wrestling fan. Everybody knows about the Benoit murders. So it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Alright. Let's go ahead and get to it, because fuck me.
Yep.
You're fired! What?
Hey there. Holy hell.
Well, it wasn't about the Benoit tragedy. They made it look like it was going to be, but it wasn't.
That's
This
Netflix for you.
episode, yeah, this episode focused on specifically the Ruthless Aggression era, and it focused on the effects that having the McMahon family and the business had on the actual family relationships. And they talked about how fucking Vince bought WCW, and they showed WCW 2000, which is cursed, because we've seen the episode that they showed. Oh, damn it. And then Vince bought WCW, and there was no competition anymore. And then they talked about in like 2000, they talked about how he brought back Hulk Hogan, and then they talked about in like 2003 and 4 how like they were starting to lose people like The Rock and Stone Cold and like all their big people, so Vince had to make new stars. And they showed the promo on Raw where he said he wanted someone to show ruthless aggression and step up to be a superstar. And fucking then we see John Cena, and fucking it's crazy because they had interviews with John Cena, and he said the whole reason that he even had a career in WWE pretty much was just because on the SmackDown he debuted on, The Undertaker couldn't make it to the show, so they didn't have anybody to face Kurt Angle, and some random person just suggested that John Cena take the spot.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Like, if Undertaker would have been able to make that show, we might never have had John Cena. But
yeah.
But we got the famous Ruthless Aggression promo from John Cena, and then they tried to push John Cena as like a baby face or whatever, and people didn't like him, and he almost got fired. And then he talked about how like he was rapping on the back of the bus one day, and Stephanie heard him, and that's how the Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick came to be. And then Cena became like the next guy, and that's really all they said about the Ruthless Aggression era. They had interviews with like Booker T and Eric Bischoff on like why WCW failed and everything, and Eric Bischoff was just like, he was like, fucking, I couldn't even watch when Vince bought WCW because I didn't want to admit that I was defeated and shit.
Well, you were defeated for a reason, Eric, and you know why. He wanted to blame it on like executives, but we all know why.
Well, we got to see Vince Russo. We saw a clip of him, and fucking so, and for some reason, I don't know why, but last episode, especially this episode, Dave Meltzer was talking so much. I don't know why they had so many interviews with Dave Meltzer, and
I don't know.
Then they had like a whole part where it was about fucking Sable, and they talked about like how Sable sued Vince and WWE for sexual harassment for like $110 million. And fucking Vince's response to that, I shit you not, was, oh well, she came back to work anyway. That was his response, bro.
Oh, Jesus.
And there was like a whole part with Trish Stratus talking about fucking the whole storyline where Linda McMahon was catatonic and fucking Vince was having an affair with Trish, and they talked about the fucking barking like a dog segment and shit. And Trish was just saying like fucking that it was all just a storyline and shit. And it was just, oh my god. And fucking Vince was so fucking laser focused, like everything that was bad, Vince's defense of it was, oh, it's just a character on TV. It's just a character on TV. Oh, it's not real life, it's just characters. Oh, the horrible things you see Mr. McMahon do on TV, that's a character, it's not who I am. And shit.
He legit had to correct himself because he was sitting there. He sat there and said, like, he was talking about the Stephanie pregnancy angle, and he was sitting there. He was like, "Well, Vince McMahon, and it, like, thought that like the baby that Stephanie was carrying was his," and he was like, "The character."
Yeah.
That's how he said it.
Yeah, and they had like a whole part with like Triple H talked about like the Katie Vick thing, and he said it was like a thing where like it was getting to a point where basically like even if it was something horrible that you didn't want to do, Vince basically forced you to do it, and they didn't really have a choice in the matter. And if they did speak up against it, they would be punished for it. And then there's also a part where they talked about the whole McMahon Helmsley era and like Triple H and Stephanie, and they revealed like the backstory on how like Triple H and Stephanie actually like legitimately like got in a relationship. And then fucking this motherfucker, fucking Vince, wanted to take Triple H and Stephanie's real life legit wedding, and he wanted to put it on TV because he thought it would make a lot of money and a lot of good ratings. And because fucking Stephanie told him absolutely not, what does this motherfucker do? Legit, 6 days before their wedding, he books himself in a match with Stephanie and fucking just so he could beat her up, bro. Like, what the fuck, dude?
It's just like, why? It's like, why? Like, what? Why would he do this? Why would he do any of this? And even,
I don't know.
Even like fucking, they were talking about the Trish, like Linda and Vince, like the storyline, WrestleMania 17. So we're recording this like almost 2 a.m. my time, almost 3 a.m. Devon's time. But like fucking, they were talking about that, and Trish was like, "Oh, Linda was on all of it, and on all of it." And I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck is wrong with this family? Like, I'm just sitting here like, why? It's not just Vince. Linda wasn't like involved with it, and fucking Stephanie just did fucking ever. And Shane had some things that he was like, no, but he still fucking did fuck shit. Like, what is wrong with this family? I don't get it.
And then there's like the whole like last part of the episode was just talking about how fucking it was talking about how fucking Vince was like becoming this like madman pretty much, and like hit this control freak and everything, and like he wouldn't listen to anybody's ideas and fucking would just make people do whatever he wanted. And fucking there was one funny clip where they showed Vince, he went on this fucking show on TV, he was in this interview, and they were like they were talking about like the XFL and shit, and fucking they were like, Vince, they pretty much said like, Vince, the XFL is fucking trash, the football sucks, the ratings suck, like what the fuck is this shit? And Vince just got so mad, he was just like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, and like the guy kept cutting him off, and Vince was like getting enraged, and he was like, oh, you let me finish, you son of a bitch, and shit. And fucking then they cut to interview with like current Vince, and he was like, oh, you know, I just felt myself getting closer and closer, and you know, I thought to myself, man, what would it be like if I could just wrap my hands around his skinny little neck and choke him?
It's like, why? And was it in this episode where they talked about? Yeah, it was, because they were asking Vince why he decided to let his kids be involved, especially Stephanie be involved. Mm-hmm. And he was like, well, there was no rape, there was none of this, there was none of that. And then they immediately played, "Come out, you rapist."
Yeah. It's like,
just come on, man. Like, what are we doing? Oh.
Yeah, and then the whole Sable thing, when they were talking, like, when she was suing him for sexual harassment, Vince said, legit, he said, oh, fucking nothing, he said nothing ever happened to her when she was here. And then this motherfucker, when he brought Sable back, immediately put himself in a storyline with Sable where he was kissing her and grabbing her ass and undressing her and shit. Like,
his response was, God. And he started laughing.
Yeah, and his response was also, I mean, she came back to work, didn't she? So
and
it's like,
he also said word for word that, because I guess Sable said that she was degraded and everything, and he was like, nothing ever happened to her that degraded her in any way.
Yeah, and then they show footage of her being degraded. Bro.
Like, what are we doing?
And it gets worse because in the later half of the episode, they specifically talk about how, like, Shane and Vince started having problems with each other because Shane disagreed with a lot of what Vince was doing, and there's a whole part where Shane wanted to buy the UFC because he thought it would be a good investment, and Vince said no. And then fucking later on, the UFC became this big fucking company, and Vince saw it, and he was like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna get that big. And then he was like, oh, Shane likes to take credit for coming up with the idea for buying the UFC, but, you know, me personally, I just, you know, and Vince, like, he laughed, he fucking laughed, and he was like, I told Shane, you know, just buy it with your own fucking money. Like, that's what he said, bro. That's what he said. Like, and then, like, Shane ended up leaving WWE in, like, 2009 or whatever, because fucking Vince and him kept getting into arguments, and basically Shane had this one idea that he really wanted to do, but Vince disagreed with him, and they got in a heated argument. And Vince, like, I shit you not, there's a part where Paul Heyman says this. Vince fucking grabbed a knife and put the knife over his heart or whatever, and he was like, you see this, Shane? You see this dagger? I want you to take this dagger and I want you to stab it through my heart, because you're gonna have to kill me if you want to fucking do that idea. If you really want it this bad, then you're gonna have to kill me, because that's the only way that you're ever gonna get this, because it's my company. And if guess what, if you don't kill me, then that shows me that you're not man enough to run this company, and I'm gonna have some serious questions about you as a man. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Like,
and then Shane was just like, fuck this shit, I'm out, and he just left.
Bro, like, you know, when I think about just, like, my family and, like, any petty arguments, anything, I'm just gonna think of that from now on. At least it's not like that. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then Vince sat there and he was like, oh, word of advice for anybody, you know, getting into the business. Don't ever bring your family into the business. It's terrible. It's so difficult on your family. I'm like, you did it! You fucking wanted to... Fucking Linda didn't want to be on TV, but you made her because you said she would make a great character. Fucking Stephanie and Shane wanted to be there, but not in the fucking way that you put them on TV, but you said, oh, fucking, it'll make them a great character. Like, that's all he kept saying this whole episode was character. It's like this motherfucker just lives in fantasy land. Where, like, this motherfucker said, oh, he was talking about getting heat, right? And shit. And he was like, oh, you know, fucking whether the people are booing or whether they're cheering, you know, the audience is giving you their reaction, and that shows that they love what you're doing. And I'm like, no, that's not. When they boo Roman Reigns out of the fucking building because you push him down their throats, that's not them loving what you're doing. When fucking they sit there and boo goddamn, like, they show the one part where Vince goes, when he did the fucking God angle, when he went to the church and fucking desecrated the church, fucking people didn't fucking like it. It doesn't mean, oh, they fucking loved what you were doing. It means it was a bad idea. And then even this motherfucker, the way he talked about the fucking incest storyline with Stephanie, he didn't even talk about it like it was a bad idea. His response after Stephanie and Triple H and Shane and everybody else was like, that was a bad, stupid idea. And Vince's response was, oh, well, you know, that's just one of the storylines that just didn't make it. Like, you don't care. He doesn't care, bro.
I don't get it. How is this man How does he exist?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Like, I knew most of the shit, but it's just his responses. His responses!
Yeah, fucking... But, yeah, so Shane fucking left, and then after the part where Shane left, it pretty much just, like, that's really where it ended, and then they just did kind of like a time jump, and they're just like, oh, since then, Vince continued to turn the company into a global even more of a global phenomenon, and made it even more popular, and it was like showing all the years of like the 2010s and everything like that until current day of 2021, which is when this documentary was filmed. And fucking, and then at the end they're like, oh, but fucking the biggest scandal yet has come out, and fucking that's basically, I guess the next episode is going to be about the current stuff that's going on, which, if I remember correctly, I think it was at this point that Vince just straight up didn't like show up to do any more of the documentary, so I don't think we're going to hear Vince anymore in the last episode.
Well, unless they talk about the Benoit stuff in the last episode too, because they have to mention it at some point. If not, Netflix clickbaited us.
Yeah, they literally teased it at the end of the episode because they showed Chris Benoit and then they showed crime scene tape, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, you know, they talk about the whole Owen Hart tragedy, and of course they're going to talk about Benoit, and then they call it family business. I'm like, well, that definitely means that it's going to be about Chris Benoit murdering his family. No, it's about Vince's family. God damn it. Like, what? And then the thing is, they're talking about, you know, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, right? And 2005 a little bit, and all of a sudden it just like goes from 2005 to just like talking about, oh, the ruthless aggression era and John Cena, to just fucking we completely skip the Chris Benoit stuff, and they're just like, oh, Vince and Shane don't like each other anymore. And I was like, what? You can't just ignore that, bro.
You can't! You legit can't, bro. You can't murder, like, you can't fucking, like, skip over a murder-suicide. It's not something, especially when you teased it in your fucking trailer, and you teased it in your last episode. Like, you can't do that.
Oh, they did it. So they clickbaited it.
If it does not get mentioned in this last episode, I'm losing my shit at Netflix. Because that is ridiculous. You can't just not mention. That's one of the biggest scandals, not just in WWE, but in wrestling fucking history. Dude. Like, you cannot.
Yeah, so we got one more episode left of this documentary, episode 6, which is called The Finish. It says, fucking, after a tragedy draws attention to wrestling injuries, WWE refocuses on safety and expansion. Vince retires abruptly after unsettling allegations emerge. So
this has to be because it's tragedy. Only other tragedy we haven't fucking talked about is Benoit. So it's gotta be in this one.
Well, why didn't they talk about it in this episode? Because they just skip over it.
I don't know.
They talk about ruthless aggression, and it just goes to fucking, oh, Vince and Shane don't like each other, to, oh, Vince just continued to make it a good company and fucking happy ending. Like, but this has to be. If it's not, then I don't know what other tragedy it could be. So,
God,
but yeah, and I got some stuff to say in the next review. What this motherfucker did to try to sit there and prevent this shit from coming out. Like, oh my god. But I'm ready to get to this last fucking episode. I just want to be done with this, bro.
Same here, bro.
Vince is so cursed.
He's so fucking cursed, man. On to the last episode.
Yeah!
Last episode, the documentary, we're so fucking done.
It was called The Finish, and it certainly was. So, in this episode, they talked about the Chris Benoit incident, and there's a
For like
whole
20 minutes.
Yeah, there's a whole part talking about CTE and how Vince thought CTE was just made up and that it wasn't legit.
You motherfucker said it was a work. You said it was a work.
Yeah. And fucking Stone Cold said he doesn't believe in CTE also.
Like, why?
And
why?
Fucking... Then... They had Chris Nowinski on, and he's like leading research and CTE and everything, and I guess he works like with WWE or whatever now and shit. And then like it talked about how like WWE tried to become safer and they stopped doing chair shots to the head and they lightened people's schedules so they don't have to work so much and shit like that. A lot of people talked about Chris Benoit, and then fucking it just kind of went from that to talking about fucking Vince.
No, Vince. It went from the fuck shit to talking about, oh, Shane just wanted love from his dad again. Like, again.
Yeah, and they talked about when Shane came back in like 2016 and everything, and then he, after the match with Undertaker, he finally got a hug from his dad and was like, oh, this is what I always wanted from my dad and everything. And fucking... Oh, and then it just got into so much fucking of the Vince allegations that's going on. Well, that happened in 2021, and fucking it got to a point where fucking once the allegations came out, Vince just didn't show up for the documentary anymore. He just said, "Fuck this, I'm not, I'm not doing it no more." But it's okay because we got other people who made this fucking terrible, like Bruce Pritchard.
Oh.
And Austin said he wants to go off on Bruce
No,
Pritchard.
I do. I'm not gonna yell because it's fucking. Let me see what time it is. It's 3:12 in the morning. But god damn it, Bruce Pritchard. Why? He was talking about all the fucking. Oh, well. See, all these allegations and everything. You don't know the real Vince. You don't know what's going on. You didn't know what happened. I'm like, bro, what do you know? Do you know what you're responding to? Like, I don't understand.
Like, they brought him back on for another interview, and they asked him if he watched the episodes of the documentary that was out so far or whatever. And he said, yeah, and they're like, what you think of it? He was like, oh, it was crap. And he was like, oh, it was fucking one-sided against Vince, and it was just a bunch of made-up bullshit and lies to make Vince look bad. Like, this is like God-tier level glazing, dude. Like, oh my god.
I have never seen somebody suck somebody's dick so hard. Bro, like, Bruce, he was talking about how, oh, if my wife got cancer, Vince would make sure she got full coverage and all this shit. And I'm like, yeah, Bruce, but what did she have to do to get that full coverage? Please, tell me, Bruce. Like, like, this is the point we're getting at, dog. Like, why?
Yeah, and fucking Vince said several times in this, he talked about how, like, he's fucking sexually active and, like, he's just talking about fucking sex like, every time.
He's actually a deviant. Like, he's genuinely a fucking deviant. We already knew he was, but it's just like, bro. Like, come on, dude. Like, come on.
They talked about the fucking Ashley Mazzaro situation, which I thought they didn't because people on Twitter were complaining about them not talking about it. So I thought that they didn't, but they did bring it up. As well as they talked about the Janelle Grant lawsuit that's going on right now. And how Vince fucking resigned from the company and then came back and then resigned again when more allegations came out. And fucking, it was just like everybody else was just saying, yeah, Vince fucking is a great businessman, but he's a pretty shitty human being.
Yeah.
And then you got fucking Bruce Pritchard that's just like, oh, Vince is my friend, and Vince is so nice, and nobody knows the real Vince. And then you got Hulk Hogan saying, oh, fucking, because, like, they were asking, like, oh, this is in, like, 2022, they were asking, like, oh, do you think the WWE can survive without Vince? And Hulk Hogan said, honestly, I don't think they can, is what he said. Because they just had to put one final Hulk Hogan lie in there.
Because why not? Because why not, dog?
Yeah.
This has been an experience that I want to forget.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so tired of Hulk Hogan's lies, Bruce Pritchard's glazing. I'm tired of Vince is talking about how he's so sexually fucking active. I don't care. What the fuck was this documentary?
It was Vince McMahon and the curseness that he is.
Dude.
And that's really all the episode was about. And fucking, like, that's really all there is to say about it. It was the Chris Benoit stuff, Shane McMahon stuff, and then the rest was just all the allegations and talking about how Stephanie and Triple H are taking over and everything like that. But and then it, like, ended with fucking, like, just Vince McMahon walking up the stage or whatever. And it also, like, they were asking everybody that did interviews, they're like, oh, what's Vince McMahon's legacy? And everybody was just like, oh, I don't know, that's a tough question, I don't know how to answer that. And then fucking Bruce Pritchard was the one that glazed them. And fucking Tony Atlas was also kind of glazed him because he was like, oh, he's the greatest wrestling promoter of all time and everything. Fucking, but that was episode 6, the finish. It should have been called episode 6 fucking CTE and the Glaze Fest, because that's what fucking Bruce Pritchard was fucking doing. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude. And fucking, and the fact that, like, they talked about how Stephanie fucking left because Vince came back, because Triple H and Stephanie and everybody else voted to not have Vince come back because they didn't want him to come back. So Vince fired people on the board and hired his own people so they could vote for him so he could come back. Like, oh, fucking God, dude.
Well, let's go ahead and just get to the conclusion, because I'm so tired.
I'm gonna have some things to say in the conclusion, don't you worry. I'm saving it for the conclusion, but fuck you, Bruce Pritchard, and fuck you, Hulk Hogan, and fuck you, Vince. That was the Vince doc. Let's get to the fucking conclusion, because this isn't the end, because there's some more info that came out that we're gonna talk about.
On to it, motherfuckers.
Fuck you, Netflix.
Yeah, fuck you, Netflix. I hate your fucking guts.
Yeah!
And
We
I wanna
reached the
die.
end of this fucking fuck-ass video, goddammit. It's 4:19 a.m. when we're recording this. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Thank God I don't fucking work today.
I have
But,
to be up in like
fucking
3.5 hours.
goddamn, why the fuck are you getting up at fucking, like, goddamn 8 a.m.?
Because fucking I gotta get a shower and then the family's going to Silver Dollar City.
So you're gonna be on your hick shit all day?
No, I'm gonna be on my I wanna die shit. Okay.
So don't forget, you still have to do Mortal Kombat.
I know. I am fucked tomorrow. Oh, I'm so fucked. Oh.
But in conclusion about this fucking documentary, fuck Vince, fuck Bruce Pritchard, fuck Hulk Hogan. And you wanna know what this motherfucker did? So after this documentary came out, well, before it came out, like after the documentary was done, before they released it, Vince McMahon, the man that sat there and said, "Oh, perception is reality, and you shouldn't have to care what people think about you." No, I don't care what people think of me, and I don't care about this and that, right? The same man sat there and tried to bribe Netflix. He tried to buy the documentary off of Netflix so that way he could make sure that this documentary never saw the light of day. Like, this is the lengths this man is going to try to suppress the allegations and everything and the publicity for a guy that sits there and says, "Oh, I have no regrets and I fucking I don't regret anything I've done in my life, and oh, perception is reality and I don't care what people think of me," and all this shit. And then you try to buy the documentary so you can make sure it doesn't get put out, so it doesn't make you look bad. And then every single fucking thing that they said about him in this documentary, Vince was just, he either said, "Oh, it didn't happen, it was lies, it was made up to make him look bad, just because people are angry that he's a successful businessman," like, and then when he would hint at stuff that did happen, he'd just be like, "Oh, you know, if it was rape, you know, the statute of limitations is over."
The statute of limitations, those darn statute of limitations. I wanna fucking die.
CTE's not real. It was a work.
It was just a work, dog. This dude, bro, how does he exist?
And then Bruce Pritchard just sits there and is like, "Oh, Vince is like the greatest human being on earth, and Vince is my friend, and Vince is this, and Vince, he's such a generous person. He would never do all these awful things." Even though
if Vince jumped off a fucking bridge, Bruce Pritchard would fucking waddle with him. I just like, dude.
Fucking Hulk Hogan probably would too.
Yeah.
Fucking motherfucker sits here and like says all this shit about, "Oh, you know, even though like the feds were on my ass and all this, I'm still gonna support Vince, and oh, you know, they told me if I support Vince that I'm gonna get 17 years in jail." And fucking
cat. No cat.
All he did was lie in this. Like, this whole documentary is Vince lying and just being a narcissistic, fucking egotistical, hypocritical,
deviant,
evil human being, sexual deviant, and Bruce Pritchard just glazing him and just refusing to accept that there's anything bad about Vince McMahon. Hulk Hogan lying his ass off because he must have CTE, because I swear to God, it's like this guy can't remember a fucking thing to save his life. At least somewhat, because he always gets everything inaccurate to where he lies about it. And if it wasn't all that, it's just everybody else on the documentary saying, "Yeah, Vince is fucked up. Vince is a fucking idiot. Vince is a fucking predator. Vince is fucking awful. He's evil." And then you have Bret Hart just not giving a fuck and saying, "Yeah, Vince is a piece of shit." Like, it, and it literally, like, every time Vince would say anything, like, immediately everybody else doing interviews would immediately contradict him, or they would play footage that would contradict him of things he's done.
It's just like,
and it's like, oh my god,
he set his own self up for failure. Like, this entire documentary, he set himself up for failure. What did he expect with this? Who thought that this was a good idea just in the first place? This was supposed to be a documentary just about him. Dude, this was just supposed to be a documentary about him. And then all the allegations came out, and it just, fuck all. They fucking changed. Complete 180. And it didn't matter, because most of it, he did it to himself. He did everything to himself. And nobody helped him in this documentary besides fucking Bruce Pritchard. Fuck you, Bruce Pritchard. Fuck you. I fucking hate you. I swear to God, Bruce Pritchard, you need to die. Like, I swear to God, you are the biggest piece of shit I have ever fucking seen. You're Vince Russo level. I swear to God, you don't understand. You're fucking Goldberg level. You're fucking Tony Khan level. You're a piece of shit. I fucking hate you, Bruce Pritchard. You can't just do this. Why would you sit there and think that fucking Vince McMahon is such a fucking good person? He raped a woman, dog. He forced himself on a woman. He fucking coerced multiple people. He paid over $12 million in hush money. And you're sitting here saying, Vince McMahon is such a great person. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm at my limit, dog. I am at my limit. This is the first review where I'm genuinely at my fucking limit. Dude.
It gets worse too, Austin, because not only did Vince try to purchase this documentary so it couldn't come out, but now that it has come out and Vince swears up and down that it's all lies and to make him look bad, now Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn apparently are trying to make a response documentary that I guess is supposed to be, in their words, a more honest and fair interpretation of Mr. McMahon. And you know that's just gonna be like a fucking glaze fest. And you know Bruce Pritchard is gonna be on there.
I can't. Dude, here's the thing. We're not doing this like quiet on set, because I thought about it. I was thinking about it. Because when I saw that, I was like, no, this is going to be just like quiet on set. There's going to be more stuff we have to talk about and we have to delay the video. No. This is coming out mid-November. If that documentary comes out, we'll do a separate review. I don't give a fucking shit. I don't fucking care. I can't go and delay my fucking reviews because Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn want to sit there and fucking have a fucking fucking circle jerk session and try to fucking redeem Vince McMahon, even though he's a fucking predator. I can't in good faith put that in the same video of how much fuck shit we have had to fucking talk about in this fucking video. Multiple tragedies, multiple rapes, multiple fucking sexual assaults, multiple fucking like lawsuits and death and fuck. I can't do it. No, I can't sit there and put that in the same thing. I can't put something that's gonna be shot by Kevin Dunn of all people. That Bucky Beaver motherfucker. I cannot, in good faith, put that in this video. So this is coming out mid-November. If they want to fucking have their Circle Jerk Fest come out, whatever, we'll review it separately. I don't give a fuck. I am done. Look, this video, this video, it might not have been as long, but I am to the point or I'm at 13 Reasons Why level of just don't give a fuck, bro. Because this was bullshit. This is bullshit. Netflix again has fucked me, dude. It's fucked me. Consistently, bro.
I've seen people complaining that they said this documentary wasn't detailed enough, and people were saying like the documentary is like stuff that has already been known about Vince McMahon, and that it didn't reveal anything new, and people were saying it was like a disappointment and shit.
Well, here's the thing. Even though the documentary is fucked, here's what people gotta understand. Yes, wrestling fans know all this about Vince McMahon, but the general public doesn't know everything about Vince McMahon. Like,
yeah.
That's what you dumbasses don't get on Twitter. It's called touch some fucking grass. Okay? God damn. It's like fucking Bruce Pritchard needs to do. He needs to fucking touch some grass. So does Kevin Dunn. And sure as hell does Vince McMahon. He needs to touch a fucking jail cell.
Well, Austin, Vince said in the final episode, he said he was never going to retire, and he said he has no sympathy for people who want to retire and just enjoy the rest of their life. Because he said, and I quote, you know, it's like, what the fuck are you going to do the rest of your life?
Well, you know, I'm going to talk about this. I want to enjoy my reviews. But you know what happens? Netflix gets in my way. And it's like a fucking path of destruction. Because every time Netflix announces something that we have to fucking review, and I'm back in the fucking, it's like a fucking vortex, dog. I finally get out. I finally get out of Netflix. And then you know what happens? I get sucked right back in because of this Vince McMahon documentary. Thank you, Netflix. Thank you.
Yep. That's how it goes, but my closing thoughts on this documentary was, I mean, there was stuff in it that I didn't know. I knew some of the stuff, but I didn't know everything. But some of the people's, like, interviews were pretty insightful as well, but I do think like it was a well-produced documentary, like it was good quality, but just it's just that Netflix didn't do a very good job of pacing, two, they were clickbaiting the fuck out of it, and three, just like, they just seem like they can't make good fucking content. Genuinely. Like, it seems like sometimes Netflix has, like, one-hit wonders with, like, Stranger Things and stuff like that. But, fucking, even Stranger Things gets to a certain point where it's like, Netflix can just fucking fuck off. Like, but... yeah, and then it's also things like Netflix has no right to be putting this out because fucking they're the ones that put Big Mouth on their platform, and they've also put Cuties on there. Thankfully, they took it off. And then when people complained about it, they were just like, oh, if you don't like it, don't watch Netflix. And if there's employees that don't like it, then you don't have to work at Netflix anymore and shit. So they don't really have any right putting this out either.
They don't. They really don't. And apparently they got a P. Diddy documentary in the works. And
you could thank 50 Cent for that one. Cause
yeah, but why do you have to partner with fucking Netflix? Because now that's the vortex again. It's the vortex again. And I'm going to be stuck with that. And it's just like, I don't. Motherfuckers.
My closing thoughts is because it's fucking 4:30 in the morning for me now, is, my closing thoughts is Vince McMahon is an awful, evil person. Yes, he changed the wrestling business for the better. He made it what it is today. And he changed the entire landscape of wrestling as we know it. But at the same time, he is one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever seen. in my life, and he deserves nothing but the worst for everything that he's done. I appreciate what he did for the wrestling business from a business standpoint, but from a human being standpoint and what he did to people is inexcusable, and it's just disgusting, honestly. And Bruce Pritchard, you fucking deserve the worst as well. You look like you're about to have a heart attack with how fat you are. But fucking, and Hulk Hogan, fucking, you deserve to just have your fucking back just completely fucking break so you can't get any more surgery, because I'm tired of your fucking lies. But yeah, this documentary was fucking bad. It was long. It was fucked. And I'm tired. And fuck Vince McMahon. Fuck Bruce Pritchard. Fuck Hulk Hogan. And fuck Netflix. And that is my final thoughts.
Oh, I'm gonna get to my final thoughts. This shit was just... This is a disgrace, dog. Like, I will admit Netflix did produce this well, like you said. But God, it just... Netflix, fuck you. Fuck you. I don't know. Fucking, the pacing was terrible. The editing was not that great. Stuff that they need to work on, but... And I also didn't know some of the stuff that was in this. But I will say, Bruce Pritchard, I hope you fucking die. Vince McMahon, I respect what you did for the business, but I hope you fucking die. Fucking Bill Goldberg, I hope you fucking die.
Jesus Christ.
Just had to throw that one in there. I just...
Do you have anything to say about Mr. Hulk Hogan?
I hope you become a paraplegic.
Oh my god.
And also stop marrying people who look like your fucking daughter, you sick fuck. But I just... Netflix has just... I really hope that I won't have to talk about Netflix until the goddamn P. Diddy documentary. Because we're recording this after I recorded my That 90s Show reviews. So we're recording this after that and everything, so
Yeah.
I could only hope that I won't have to cover Netflix again until the B. Diddy documentary comes out. Which, who knows when that will come out. But that's just the only hope I have in this world left. Because I thought I was done after 13 Reasons Why. And a month later, they put the trailer out for That 90s Show. And then, after I do that, I thought I was done. Then, oh, Vince McMahon documentary. Go fuck yourself, Netflix. I hope you fucking die.
Don't forget, we got Stranger Things next year.
I know. But that is at least might be good, you know.
Yeah.
Might. Keyword on might. It better be. But that being said, you got any more thoughts?
No, I'm fucking tired.
I feel that.
My last thought is, fuck you, Vince McMahon.
Fuck you, Vince McMahon. And fuck you, Netflix. Peace.